What do you think of the new setup, you guys? 2021. New me, new angles. I don't know. So I've been seeing a lot of low buy and no buy content coming up over the past couple of weeks. I think new beginnings, new starts has really been on a lot of people's minds, and after the dumpster fire of 2020, I think we really want to focus on resetting, refreshing, and realigning our goals. So a lot of us have decided to do a low buy, and I think that's amazing. And if you guys are new here, welcome. My name's Christina. I talk all about minimalism, low buy, getting into a better relationship with your stuff, and getting out of debt. Because a lot of the stuff in my life that I've now decluttered is the reason that I've stayed in debt so long. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, then please hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up while you're at it. It really helps me out. So the bulk of my channel really focuses on low buy and no buy, and over the past few months, I've really sort of shifted that focus more towards minimalism and wanting less overall, but that might not necessarily be for everybody. Our goals are different, our whys are different, and our motivations are different. So if you've decided to pursue a low buy or even a no buy this year in 2021, and from a girl who has done her fair share of low buying and no buying over the past few years, I'm gonna share with you my top 10 tips to actually stick to your low buy. Because here's the thing, it's early January, we're motivated, we're ready to go, we're fired up. But as time goes on, we'll start to get distracted, we'll start to lose direction, and start to lose motivation. So these are my top 10 tips to actually stick to your low buy. So my number one tip in how to stick to your low buy and even just how to get started is to remember your why. I've talked about your why so much on this channel, but it really is the number one fundamental thing that will help you get started and will help you keep going. So why are you doing this? For me, my initial motivation was becoming debt-free. I was buying new I didn't need to impress people I didn't like on a weekly basis, and that's why I was staying in debt as long as I did. So for me, it was a financial reason. For you, it might be a mission to get to know yourself better, to consume less, to live a more sustainable, environmentally conscious life, or to simply just start appreciating what you have and practicing gratitude. So find your why, write it down, and revisit it often. Having a why is absolutely fundamental, but revisiting it and reminding yourself of that why, I think, is more key than anything else, because we get distracted and real life will soon start to set in. So if you keep revisiting that why and reminding yourself of what you're doing and why you're doing it, I think it'll really help keep you motivated and help you stay on track with a lot more strength moving forward this year. Tip number 2 is to set milestones and revisit your wins. So I was able to stop shopping cold turkey because my why was getting out of debt, but I needed to do something to kickstart that plan. So at the time I had about $1,000 extra in savings that I was really nervous to lay down on my debt, and I just slammed it down. I finally just did it, and that to me was a kickstart of like, yes girl, you can do this, let's get this going. So doing something that maybe scares you a little bit, makes you a bit nervous, but ultimately something that sort of pushes you forward to get you started can definitely be really helpful in boosting that motivation and maintaining it for longer. So if you come up with little milestones to maybe hit each month, like I'm going to declutter 5 sweaters this month, or I'm going to sell 10 things and save that money towards my okay to buy wish list. So coming up with little mini goals to help you along the way, I think is really helpful to just maintain that motivation and gives you a reason to celebrate yourself because you're awesome. Tip number 3 is to unsubscribe. I can't tell you the importance of boundaries and eliminating as many stimuli and pokes and prods at us to be tempted and buy as we possibly can. One of the most powerful tools in a low buy or a no buy is straight up ignorance. Ignorance is bliss. We can't control everything that's thrown at us when it comes to advertising and what we see and what we're influenced by, but you can control what comes into your inbox and who you follow on your Instagram feed and YouTube and any other place that you find triggering. So give yourself a little detox from that. Tip number 4 is to create friction. I'm lazy when it comes to a lot of things, and in a low buy, no buy, or whatever, I'm going to use that to my advantage. So create friction by removing your credit card information. Eliminate anything that makes it easy to just add to cart and buy it. And that doesn't have to be limited to your payment information. Take out your shipping information, remove Apple Pay from your phone. Basically use laziness to your advantage here. For me, removing my information and actually creating a situation for myself where I have to like go into my bag, pick up my wallet, take out my credit card, enter the information. I'm just, honestly, I'm too lazy to do it. So using laziness to your advantage and creating that friction really just helps minimize that impulse buying and stop spending money that we may not necessarily have on that we don't really necessarily need. Tip number 5 is to actually spend time with your stuff. When you're in the middle of shopping or being tempted or just putting yourself in a situation where you're likely to buy something, it's really easy to forget how much you already own, and even if you have something similar in your closet already. It's also really easy to forget how much physical space that thing takes up, how you have to take care of it, how much time you need to put into it to wash it, think about wearing it, think about ways to style it. But getting up and stopping that stimulus in its tracks and going to physically see what you already own is completely life-changing and eye-opening, because when you see the physical space this thing takes up, maybe realizing how often or not often you worn the item that you already have, basically getting up and stopping that stimulus, stopping that cycle of mindless scrolling, mindless shopping, and interrupting that flow really can help stop you in your tracks. And you might find out that you already had 6 blazers exactly like it, so let the thing go. Tip number 6 is to find support. I think when I first started this low buy, it was still fairly a new thing on the internet, and I think ever since then there has been a lot of interest in traction in shopping less, using what you have, and creating a financial future for yourself that you want. And that really can only be done when we stop consuming things that we don't need. There's tons of support to find on Instagram, here in the comments section on YouTube. This community is amazing and we learn so much from each other. I even created a Facebook group called Low Buy Beauties where there's just a ton of discussion about how we're feeling, what our plans are, what our goals are, and progress and check-ins. It's pretty amazing. So you can find communities on Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, here on YouTube, but find kindred spirits, find people that are doing the same thing as you, because you guys can all relate to each other. You can talk through your experiences, talk through your emotions, because this is a very emotional journey that you guys will be taking yourself on, but you are who you surround yourself with. So if you have a goal that you want to reach and a goal that requires a lot of consistent checking in as it evolves, having a like-minded community is worth its weight in gold. So join us. We're pretty cool here. Tip number 7 is to shop your closet. And this kind of goes into catching yourself when you're mindlessly scrolling and physically getting up off the couch and breaking that cycle. Physically going and shopping your closet and recreating outfits that you saw on Pinterest, Instagram, or whatever it is. First of all, it's a lot of fun, but second of all, it really forces you to spend time with your things. I think generally we live in such a throwaway society, and whenever we see something new and shiny that we're excited about, the thing that we already have doesn't seem as exciting. It's not as sexy and fun. And I think, honestly, that's not rocket science, but in the society and attitudes that we live in today, I think we often feel like we need something new in order to achieve whatever look or vibe we're trying to go for. And really that's not the case. And I think there's tons of channels here on YouTube that prove that over and over and over again. And I will leave some down below, like Beltempo. She's amazing at doing this. Use less. There's tons of channels on here that show you exactly how to steal her style or create looks out of things you already have. And it really just forces you to be creative. It forces you to think outside of the box, and it just starts to rewire your thinking when it comes to how we consume, how we shop, and how we actually use the things that we already have. Tip number 8 is to be kind to yourself. If you've been following my channel up until now, you'll see that I have taken you guys on a whirlwind of emotions and finding myself and learning how to be my own best friend. I think a lot of us, when we think about our why when it comes to doing a low buy or a no buy, I think there's a lot of feelings of guilt and shame and what have I done type of feelings to get to this point. I think those are all valid and really important feelings to experience, but the main thing about that is to make sure that you stay kind to yourself throughout this. The only thing that we can do is look back back on the past and see what we can do different and how we've learned from it. There really should not be judgment in this journey on others and especially on yourself, because at the end of the day, your decision to do this and change your shopping habits is something that you're doing for yourself. And really, it's a form of self-care. It's a form of being kind to ourselves, and it's a form of getting to know ourselves. If you did end up buying something over this, you don't suck, you didn't screw up. Take it as an opportunity to learn and grow from it. Tip number 9 is to remind yourself that it's not all about the stuff. So here's one of the major things that I learned in doing low buys over the years and sort of turning it into a lifestyle and now pursuing less and a life of minimalism. I made it way too much about the stuff. One of the reasons I decided to start a low buy was because I recognized that I was being all consumed by stuff all the time. But what I learned along the way is this is not really about the stuff. Make this experience about you. This is about discovering your relationship with stuff, learning why you want the stuff, learning what maybe pushes you to buy versus not buy, learning about your emotions and checking in with yourself when you're feeling tempted, learning if it's about the stuff itself that brings you joy, or if it's the act of spending money that brings you that rush, or loving the hunt or the joy of finding that good deal. This is about you and your relationship to stuff, your relationship to how we shop and why we shop, and discovering what that's all about, as opposed to fixating on certain things each and every month and rationalizing our way in and out of buying it. Make this journey about you, not the stuff, because that's what you're really going to learn from. And tip number 10 is to check in with yourself. Take the time to celebrate your wins, and also take the time to deconstruct anything that you might consider being a loss. Because you started out this journey pretty awesome, but you're gonna be even more awesome by the end of it, because you're gonna learn so much about yourself. I think what low buy really does for us is that we use it as a tool to eliminate distractions and take that time that we've gained back to learn about ourselves. So check in with yourself along the way, get to know yourself, and use all of those moments as an opportunity to learn about yourself. So here's the thing. We're all excited. We've all started our low buys or no buys. We are on a streak and we want it to keep going. But this is going to change. Your motivations are going to ebb and flow. And I'm here to tell you to just roll with it. I hope some of these tips help you sort of rethink and reframe any goals you may have set for yourself, and just sort of look at them from a different perspective and more of a long-term lens, because these are the main things that I took away over the years of doing low buys, no buys, and now just aiming to live a more minimalist life overall. Let me know what your goals are this year, whether they be low buy, no buy, minimalist, or anything at all. I'm so excited to see what you guys have planned for this year. Leave this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and if you like what you saw, consider subscribing. Happy New Year, guys, and you got this. See you in the next one.